Hello everybody and welcome to another EDH deck tech for Atraxa again. This is version 3 of my previous two decks. My previous two decks were pretty standard, what you would expect from an Atraxa player. They've pretty much gone either with the counters on the creatures, like the 1/1 counters, or they've gone with the Planeswalkers. And Planeswalkers and 1/1 counters are nice, but I thought of going in a different direction with this one. So I bring to you Atraxa Stax. Atraxa is such a great resource for Stax. A lot of Stax cards need to rely on counters to make them work. So with Atraxa out, that becomes a lot easier. So, getting right into it, I'm going to skip the mana base. The mana base is not really finished on this deck, but the rest of the deck is more or less finished. So what I want to do is skip the mana base. I'm going to tell you I typically use 35 lands. Use 35 of whatever you want. Duels, shocks, pain lands, command tower, ancient tomb, so on and so forth. You pretty much know by now what the deal is. So, Atraxa, getting right into it. We're going to start off with some Mana Crypt for the Mana Rocks, Everflowing Chalice, Soul Ring, Felwar Stone, Astral Cornucopia, comes with the deck, Darksteel Ingot, and those are our Mana Rocks. Mana Rocks are very important in this deck because there's a lot of cards that are going to pin down lands and keep them tapped down. So we're going to need those to pick up the slack. This is also a Pillow Fort deck of sorts. So we have cards like Ensnaring Bridge. And pretty much we want to play cards that keep the other players from playing. So we definitely have a Torpor Orb. And we have Sensei's Divining Top, because pretty much this goes in every EDH deck. This is my proxied Sensei's Divining Top. Tango Wire for tapping stuff down and keeping it tapped. This takes fade counters, and it taps down based on the number of fade counters during each player's upkeep. So basically with this, what you want to do is have Atraxa out so that it keeps getting fade counters, because when your upkeep comes around, you have to take a fade counter off and then tap your stuff down. So what you want to do is have Atraxa out, maybe doubling season, get everything pinned down on their boards, and then there are ways of bouncing this back to your hand in the deck so that it affects them more than it affects you. Static Orb, I bought a very pretty one. Static Orb is a very inexpensive card, and this version of the card, the Invention version, was only, I think, $27 maybe, versus like the $4 card for the regular version. But as long as this is untapped, players can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap step. So what you want, there are ways of tapping this down in the deck already. So you want to tap this down at the end of the last person's end step and enjoy your untaps while everyone else suffers. Can you tell this isn't one of my usual casual decks yet? I normally play only casual decks. This is a lot rougher, and I wouldn't really play this in a casual environment. So Winter Orb, same deal as the Static Orb, except this is only lands, and it's 1 land per turn as long as it's untapped. But again, there are ways you want to tap this down. Smokestack wouldn't be a Stax deck without the Stax card. It gets soot counters, and then at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they sack based on how many soot counters on this. So basically what you want to do is at the beginning of your upkeep, you sack first, because the abilities trigger separately. You sack first, then you put the soot counter on. Meekstone, keeping big stuff tapped down. This is a white border one and a white sleeve, so it does look a little strange, but there it is. Storage Matrix, another card that works only as long as it's untapped. Basically, everyone picks a permanent type, and that's the only thing that untaps during their untap step. So again, you want to tap that down for you and let everyone else burn. Ristic Study, a good tax card, lets you draw while the other players are unable to pay extra mana. Sylvan Library, we play green, and this is pretty much a standard card for anything with green in it. Ghostly Prison, another Pillow Fort type of card. We play this because they can't pay 2 mana tax in order to attack. Dueling Grounds, this is basically a enchantment version of Silent Arbiter. It makes it so you can only attack and block with one creature at a time, keeping them off your back while your stack's going. Propaganda, same as Ghostly Prison. Just adjust that a little bit. Same as Ghostly Prison, they got to pay the tax to attack, and typically they can't. Quest for Renewal and Awakening are both cards that are going to allow you to untap during other players' upkeeps or untap phases, or untap steps, they call them now. I'm sorry, I'm very old school. Been playing this game for 21 years, so some of the old stuff kind of stuck. This lets you untap during their untap steps and their upkeeps, and lets you get around things like Tangle Wire without having to bounce the Tangle Wire back to your hand. Bloodchief Ascension, this is basically a win condition. Bitter Blossom, good chump blockers, a possible win condition to these guys. Also, I play a card called Opposition, which is coming up shortly, that taps stuff down, and you need creatures in order to be able to do it. So this provides the creatures to be able to do it. Doubling Season, we play counter stuff, so here's Doubling Season. Inexorable Tide, we play Proliferate, so again, we play Inexorable Tide. Opposition, this is the card I spoke of earlier. You tap an untap creature you control. It taps down an artifact, creature, or land. This will help you keep the other players' creatures tapped down. It'll keep their lands tapped down, and allow you to tap your own artifacts, like Winter Orb or Static Orb, in order to take advantage of those. Overburden, pretty much just an annoyance to them. It's very cheap for you to get it out, and whenever they play a creature, they got to bounce a land. So this slows them down substantially in the early game, and that's what you're really looking for. Embargo, another Stax tax type of card, makes it so non-land permanents don't untap during their controller's untap steps. You got to pay 2 life, but this is EDH. We have 40 life to play with, so we play Embargo. Parallax Tide and Parallax Wave. Again, these are fade counter cards. We want to exile their lands with Tide and creatures with Wave, and keep our counters on these so they don't get destroyed with Atraxa. Grand Arbiter, Augustin IV. A tax card. They can't pay the tax, so they can't play their spells. It makes it just that much harder for them to play. Crewfix, God of Horizon. I play this guy because it allows me to tap my lands on their turn and save it for my turn. And with the cards that you saw earlier that let me untap during their turns, this makes it useful during my turn. Vorl of the Hull Clade. This is a single target proliferate, basically, but only for artifacts, creatures, or lands. But as I said, this is for Smokestack. This is for pretty much anything else that's going to need counters. Seedborn Muse, same as earlier, untap all your permanents during other people's turns. Keeps you untapped, keeps them tapped. Good stuff. Temporal Adept. This guy right here is how you're going to get stuff back to your hand. Oh, look, you get to sack your 3 permanents or 4 permanents with Smokestack, and I'm going to bounce it back on my turn, so screw you. Yay me. Academy Rector. This is just for getting enchantments out. Leovold. This guy has shot up so much in price, and I really don't want to play him just because I want to save him. I want to keep him in great condition. But here's Leovold anyway, just because this is a dick card to play, and we like being the dick. Hikori Dust Drinker. This is pretty much Winter Orb, I guess. Winter Orb. But again, we want to bounce this on their turn at the end of the player before you's turn to not suffer it. Sakura Tribe Elder for some fetch. Lodestone Mirror. This guy is just here to tap down Static Orb and Winter Orb, so on and so forth. Rashmi, because card draw is a great thing, and it's sort of a pseudo cascade, so we play her. Eternal Witness needs no explanation. Solemn Simulacrum, again, no explanation. It's Solemn Simulacrum. If you play an EDH, you pretty much always play him. Elspeth Sun's Titan, it's control, and it makes the tokens for opposition. So that's why I play this card right here. Teferi, I love Teferi. I play Teferi in everything I can play Teferi in. Untapping 4 permanents and the draw ability. It's just wow, right there. So even if I have to suffer to the Static Orb or the Winter Orb, I can easily untap stuff. Soren, this is another win condition. Basically, I just keep drawing cards with them and dealing damage to each opponent. Simple enough right there. Garruk Wildspeaker helps me untap, can give me a beast. Both great things in this deck. Liliana, I just basically play her for the tutor ability. I play her in my other decks. Again, I just tutor with her. If I tutor once and somebody kills it, that sucks, but what are you going to do? Tamio, again, tapping stuff down, drawing stuff. The draw ability becomes very strong on this deck as their stuff stays tapped down for long periods of time. So take advantage of that draw ability. Definite keeper in this deck. Nissa Voices Zendikar. Basically, I just use it for making dudes. The 0/1 plant dudes. So this one, if you have a better card, maybe you want to take this one out. I like having the dudes. I like having Chump Blocker. She's very cheap to get out. I like having the Chump Blockers, and I like being able to use her with opposition later in the game. Brainstorm, because we play blue, and you always play Brainstorm, pretty much. This is a Proxied Vampiric Tutor, so pretty much play black, you play some Tutors. More Tutors. White, again, we play a lot of artifacts and enchantments. Enlightened Tutor is definitely on the list. Fact or Fiction, good card to get at least 2 or 3 cards in your hand from this. Your opponent gets to separate, but as Wizards found out a long time ago, that doesn't matter. You're going to get the card that you want no matter what. Limdual's Vault. If you play black and you play blue, you must play Limdual's Vault. This card is so underrated. Basically, it lets you get to filter through your entire library for the cost of a life per 5 cards and put them on top in any order. So it's a tutor on steroids, really, because you get to basically tutor for 5 cards and put them on top of your library. So that's a very, very strong card. Putrefy for some quick spot removal. Regrowth, because we're playing green and we want to be able to get stuff out of the graveyard that gets killed early on. Cultivate for some fetch. Kadama's Reach, exact same thing. Fetch that lands. Wrath of God for some quick control. Hallowed Burial, again, control. Keep those creatures off the board and out of your way until we get established. Idyllic Tutor, again, we play enchantments and we need to get them quickly. And Demonic Tutor, same thing. Playing black, we're going to play Demonic Tutor, so there it is. I hope you liked this video. I tried to keep it a little bit faster than the other ones. So give me a like, give me a subscribe, comment below, and have a great day.